Hi everyone, welcome to the Overnote channel. First, I'd like to say a big thank you to all my new subscribers. You're welcome on board. And to the old ones, also a big thank you for sticking around this far. Well, unfortunately, like the title of the video says, the advances kind of broke down. So come along with me, let's try to fix it together. So right now I'm going to demonstrate the issue with the advances. I'm going to start it up right now. Starts right up, no problem. So accelerating here from a standstill. So you can see that it's cutting off at around 5,000 RPM. At times the RPM drops as low as 2,000, especially after parking the car for a while. So I've been trying to troubleshoot. So next I'm going to connect my scan tool and try to replicate the issue. So using my hotel scan tool, I'm going to carry out a complete scan of the vehicle. So right now I just pressed OK. So scanning the engine and ECT. Oh, we have a fault. I wonder what the fault is. So this scan tool can only communicate with two models, as you can see. So checking the diagnostic trouble code for the engine and ECT. Display DTC. We have vacuum sensor circuit. So I'm going to look that up and get right back. So after checking up the P0105 code on the internet, the code has to do with the manifold absolute pressure sensor, something about a malfunction. So next I'm going to run a live data stream to see what the map sensor values are. So let me get that set up, then we'll continue. So pressing OK to get into the engine and ECT. OK, live data. Taking a while. So I'm going to go down to custom list, and then I think while I'm in here I'm going to select coolant temperature. Not a bad idea to check the short and long term for trims. Okay, that's the map. Can also check on intake air too. I think that's it for now. Okay. So as you can see, the map is reading 14.4 psi right now. And then the intake air is about 131 degrees Fahrenheit. Coolant temperature is at 201 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to start up the vehicle right now. So with the engine running, I have about 3.94 psi. So I'm going to drive right now and then see how the map sensor reading varies. So I'm going to try to hold you still right now. So let's go for it. So we're moving. So with that short drive, I noticed that seems like the vacuum increased as we're accelerating. So still need to carry out further testing. So let me do more driving and then so I can get a definite trend. It may be much easier for me to graph the map sensor reading so I can monitor it easier. So one graphic, yes, yeah. So right now I'm back at home. I couldn't make out any sense from all the readings I was getting, and it even got worse with the graphed information display of the map sensor. So I remember the radio program I listened to a couple of months back where the presenter said 3 things were necessary to fix any problem. Number 1, the expertise. Number 2, the tools. And then number 3, the parts. Number 3 can be optional depending on whether parts are required to be replaced or not. So after doing my findings, I have more information right now. Engine and ECT. The ECT portion means electronically controlled transmission. That's basically automatic transmission. And as we all know, this advances a 5-speed manual and it doesn't apply to it. So we want to go directly into engine and ECT. So while it's communicating, we're going to go to read codes directly. So while it's doing its thing, let's see what we find. Now that we have more information, we should tackle the issue within a very short time. So we still have the P0105 code vacuum sensor circuit and stating current, okay? So when you have a data diagnostic trouble code like that, the vehicle computer usually stores something called a freeze frame data. Essentially, that's a capture of some of the working parameters of the vehicle when the issue was detected, and that can give a lot of insight as to the exact problem. So in this case, we have a problem with the map sensor. So let's see if we have any freeze frame data. So while that is being retrieved, hopefully we have some data on that. Yes, we have a freeze frame data report. So we need to interpret all these items in order to figure out what could be wrong. So the number 1 item, fuel system number 1, obviously this car engine has only 1 bank, so fuel system number 2 unused because it's 1 bank. So that's stating that the system was in open loop. Calculated load 0%. Coolant temp, obviously the engine was warmed up. Short term fuel trim number 1. Okay, not bad, not bad. So here we have a map reading of 21 psi. I would say the answer is quite obvious here, because upon doing research about how the map sensor should work, atmospheric pressure is about 14.4 psi. That's 1 atmosphere. And car engines pull vacuums, which will be highest at idle. So meaning that the map sensor reading should go down while the engine is idling, and then as the engine accelerates or as the RPMs of the engine increases, the map sensor reading should rise and possibly approach atmospheric pressure. So here we're seeing a reading of 21 psi. That means that the map sensor was reporting a reading higher than atmospheric pressure. So obviously this vehicle doesn't have a turbocharger, so what could have increased the pressure beyond atmospheric pressure? I can't say. So I'm tending strongly towards a defective map sensor in this case, because I can't figure out any reason why the map sensor will be reporting a pressure higher than atmospheric pressure. So let's look at the other parameters. Engine speed 0, so stating that the data was recorded when the engine was off, and obviously the speed was off. Intake air was 136. So yes. So that's my interpretation. So right now I'm going to go back now, and then before going ahead, I noticed that the check engine light didn't stay on throughout the ordeal, throughout this issue at all. Whenever the vehicle is stalling or hesitating, the check engine light will only flash a bit. Flashing check engine lights usually indicate misfires. So let's go to live data right now and check if the check engine lights should stay on. So right now the scanner is communicating data lists. So I'm going to select MIL status right now, and then also go down to map sensor and see what it says. Yeah, so I'm going to say OK right now, and then once this is done, I'm going to start off the car. So here we can see MIL status off, meaning that the check engine light shouldn't remain on. The map sensor 14.2 psi, that's very close to atmospheric pressure of 14.4. So right now I'm going to start the car, and then we'll see how the readings vary. So this is going to be a cold start. Starts right up, no problem. So as you can see, the check engine light went off. So now I'm going back to scan tool so that we can monitor our readings. So here we are back at the scan tool with the engine running. We can obviously see that the map sensor reading has gone down, indicating that the engine is pulling vacuum. Obviously the RPM right now, I guess I should add that to the list. So I'll do that right now. So right now I added more parameters to the list. Like I said, this was a cold start. Coolant temperature is still way below operating temperature, and that's the intake air right there. So RPM is still hovering around 1000 RPM. So because the engine is pulling vacuum, we have a lower reading from 14.4 psi, or 14.2 in this case when we started the engine. So obviously the map sensor reading should never go above 14.4 because we don't have forced induction, we don't have a turbocharger or a supercharger. So from the freeze frame data, we saw a reading of 21 psi. So I'm calling it in that the map sensor on this vehicle is failing. So let's go right over to the engine and identify how the map sensor looks. So right now we're under the hood of the Avances. Obviously this is a naturally aspirated engine, no turbocharger or supercharger like I mentioned earlier. So here we have the exhaust, and then we have the intake system. So manifold absolute pressure sensor, that's our map sensor. So where is it at right now? This is the intake manifold, and just looking around, yes, this is the map sensor. Definitely has a vacuum line going into the intake right there. So here's the map sensor. So focusing on it right here, yes, that's what is written on there. We have sensor AC vacuum. Not sure you can read that. My phone is going to focus. So that's what we have on the map sensor. So that's what would need to be replaced. 3 wires and a vacuum connection. So gonna get that replaced. I have a replacement, but unfortunately let me get it right there before I explain further. So here's the sensor I'll be replacing, or putting in place of the defective sensor. So we can see that it's quite different, 2 of them side by side. Unfortunately I couldn't get an exact sensor that way, I guess because of the age of the car, and buying a new one would have cost about $300. Definitely I wasn't ready to spend that kind of money on this car, so I went with this. It turns out that the first 5 digits of the replacement sensor is actually the same as what we had on the 89420. Yeah, and this is also stating 89420. I guess the last 5 digits will represent the form factor. So I'll be installing this, and fingers crossed, I hope it works and works good. So let me get that done. So here I have the sensor out. It was mounted on using a 10mm bolt, and then obviously the vacuum line. So checking out the base of the sensor right here, you can see some gooey substance, like the housing is melting. Probably that has to do with the failure of the sensor. Quite sticky. I'm not going to touch it with my finger. So here's the replacement. Yes, The replacement sensor is actually from a 2000 Toyota Camry with the 2.2 liter 5S FE engine. This is a 70 FE engine, by the way. This is a 1.8 liter. The sensor is for a 2.2 liter Toyota engine, 4-cylinder too. So I'm hoping it works. So I'll need to figure out a way of mounting the sensor, because obviously they're different and the mounting points are definitely also different. But right now we need functionality, so I'm going to connect the vacuum line and then, or the vacuum hose, and also the electrical connection, and then we'll check how the car performs after that. So this is what we have. I simply held it onto this hose with a zip tie. I think that will do for testing purposes before I figure out the best way to mount it on. So let's go into the car and scan the vehicle. So now with the sensor replaced, I'm going to erase the diagnostic trouble code. Go to read first. We still have the P0105 code stored. Yes, current, that's the right thing. So I'm going to erase the code. Yes, the engine has stopped and the ignition is on. Yes, yes. So after the code gets erased, we're going to check out the live data to see the values of the replacement map sensor. So I'm gonna set it up right now. So those are the parameters we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to start up the vehicle right now. So with the engine running, obviously our map sensor reading dropped from 14.2 psi to 4.6, 4.5. It seems quite stable compared to the other sensor, or it may just be me. So ML status is off. Seems to be running good. I'm going to give it a few revs. So revving the vehicle should make the map sensor reading go a little higher, indicating less vacuum being pulled by the engine. So let me do that right now. Yeah. So everything seems to be working. I'm going to take it for a test drive to see if the issue has been finally resolved, and then likely call this a fix. But before doing that, I'm going to turn it off right now and then check for codes, if we have any new codes. So we don't have any diagnostic trouble codes. So test drive time. Well, fellas, it's been a couple of days. I've been driving the Advances and there's no longer any hesitation or stalling. Let me start it up right now. Starts up real good. It moves good too. The P0105 code hasn't returned since then, and I think this is a definite fix. So right now we'll go under the hood so I can show you my setup. So right now we're under the hood of the Advances. There's the replacement map sensor that we installed. So I held it onto the bracket using 2 zip ties. So that's it. Doesn't look too bad as long as it runs good. So that's a fix. The engine runs good. I guess the sensor that went bad had been on there since the car was brand new. A whole 26 years. I can't complain with that longevity at all. 26 years of meritorious service. Whew. Toyota Advances. A lot of people claim that the car is very reliable. I guess I'm sold. I'm also sold. The car's been doing very good. So fellas, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give me a like. Also, if you're here to subscribe, you're welcome to subscribe. Then don't forget to hit the notification bell too, so I get notified whenever I drop another hot one just like this one. So in the next video, we'll be talking about how I got scammed. Unbelievable, right? You don't want to miss it at all. There's a lot to learn in that. So till next time, fellas, have a great one. Thanks for watching. Bye.